Trump says, and his MAGA media echo chamber say, if Trump was in it, the Democrats would have just made it public if there's anything bad about Trump. No, the Democrats are in it as well. They're all in it. It's a one-party state. Hello. And that's why it's not been released, because it affects all of them. When you look at what Trump has done since he came to office a second time, the Democrats, they've really not gone for the jugular, have they? In terms of this Epstein thing, of course it will be bad for them as it will be bad for Trump. In 1917, there was this declaration from Lord Arthur Balfour to Lord Rothschild that declared the British government supported this homeland for Jewish people in what was then Palestine. The Rothschilds created a secret society called the Round Table. An inner circle member of the Round Table was Lord Arthur Balfour. T.E. Lawrence, his job was to tell the Palestinians that in removing the Ottoman Empire, the British Empire would give independence to those people. The Ottoman Empire was driven out. The Palestinians were not given independence. Britain was given the, quote, mandate to run that area. And then the Rothschilds started. They took it over through the most grotesque levels of violence. The British were driven out, and the State of Israel was declared in 1948.
You stand with Israel.
This infiltration of the United States became fundamental. Israel, they had a policy of sending key people to America, and one of them was a guy called Benjamin Emanuel, a bomber with the gun, and he gave birth to Rahm Emanuel, who was the White House chief of staff to Barack Obama in his 2 terms. There was another son called Ezekiel Emanuel, and he was one of the Biden advisors on the Koch Downs, etc. All these people that get funding from AIPAC have to make this pledge to do what's best for Israel and to defend Israel. When Netanyahu goes to speak to both houses of Congress, that's why you see standing ovations. What this whole thing has been since Israel was established is a buying time operation. Buying time to take over the lot and then start to pick off other countries and other land around Israel, and for the Greater Israel Project, which is real.
The one and only Jewish state.
Was Jewish and a Zionist and had big connections to Israeli politicians, including Ehud Barak. Who exactly is Ghislaine Maxwell, the procurer of young girls for Epstein's ring? Well, I can tell you who her father was, Bob Maxwell, who worked for Mossad for years. And he was funded by Mossad to buy the Daily Mirror. And then when he became a liability, just like Epstein was a liability, in an accident, and the yacht was called the Lady Ghislaine. Gouffre long claimed that Epstein kept her as his underage sex slave and loaned her out to his famous friends, including Prince Andrew. The Black Book of Jeffrey Epstein's contacts are people like Tony Blair, Prince Andrew, Bill Clinton, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who Epstein said visited him many times. You know, the guy who was behind the bone saw cutting up of the journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Nice man. There are, of course, massive questions about where Epstein's money came from. He's supposed to be running a hedge fund. We do know that he was connected in this fund to a guy called Leslie Wexner. It also involves this web, something called the Mega Group. And this mega group connects us into Donald Trump. The mega group was formed in 1991 by Charles Bronfman and Wexner. What this ring does is to use pedophilia to compromise people who can make decisions that this cabal wants them to make to advance its agenda. Hello and welcome to the Dot Connector. Another week in the madhouse. We've had a discussion by the Trump regime with
head of the CIA and the intelligence and the defense secretary, etc., in which a journalist who's not a Trump fan was invited on to the call. No one seems to know why, and was privy to this classified information that related to a imminent bombing of Yemen. And that was kind of strange enough. But then the Trump regime denied it was classified or anything that people shouldn't know about was discussed. And the journalist then revealed the fact that there was. So the ease with which these people lie is shocking. I'm going to get into that later on. But the dismantling of the separation of powers between the courts, Congress, and Trump, the executive, has gone on being dismantled. And we've reached the point where Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, is threatening to cut off funding, in effect, shut down courts that disagree with Trump.
We do have authority over the federal courts, as you know. We can eliminate an entire district court. We have power funding over the courts and all these other things. But desperate times call for desperate measures, and Congress is going to act. So stay tuned for that.
So what is going on? Well, it's something called the Dark Enlightenment and acceleration. Dark Enlightenment is the ideology that the Trump regime is blatantly following. And acceleration is the speed getting faster and faster and faster of imposing the ideology of the Dark Enlightenment. So some background. One of the advocates of this, by the way, is a guy called Peter Thiel, who's pulling the strings in the background of this whole Trump regime and the move towards the AI-controlled society. Peter Thiel, he's anti-globalist, but, well, actually he's not. He's on the steering committee of the Bilderberg Group, which is as globalist as you can get. So he supports this Dark Enlightenment stuff. And among the ideological drivers of it have been a guy called Nick Land, who's described as the godfather of accelerationism, and Curtis Yarvin, who, with this chap Land, are the kind of spiritual architects of the Dark Enlightenment and its accelerationism, which is their modus operandi to bring it in. And what this Dark Enlightenment is about is getting rid of democracy, getting rid basically of elections in the sense of appointing a monarch to run the country. Now, that's not necessarily a royal monarch. It's like a CEO of a corporation who then runs the country like a corporation, like a tyrant. And if you look at what's happening in America with all these executive orders flying around like machine gun fire from Trump, one man is signing them and they're becoming the law of the land and dictating the direction of the country. That's straight off the pages of the Dark Enlightenment and the CEO. So big tech billionaires and frontline Trump MAGA politicians and operatives have said they're influenced by this guy, Curtis Yarvin. Peter Thiel said Yarvin is his most important connection, and he supplied Thiel supplied startup funding for Yarvin's technology company, Urbit. Trump supporter and his former political strategist, Steve Bannon, is said to admire Yarvin's work. And Vice President J.D. Vance cites Yarvin as an influence. And you can see the ideological foundations of this dark enlightenment in the Musk-Trump connection and why they're doing what they are. So Yarvin wants government to be imposed by a corporate-like structure, which he dubs GovCorp. Here's a quote. "It is essential to squash the democratic myth that a state, quote, belongs to the citizenry. The point of neo-cameralism, tyranny, is to buy out the real stakeholders in sovereign power, not to perpetuate sentimental lies about mass enfranchisement. Once the universe of democratic corruption is converted into a freely transferable shareholding in GovCorp, the owners of the state can initiate rational corporate governance." And this is happening before our eyes. And this is an article by a journalist called Andy Beckett on the UK Guardian. And, you know, I know MAGA, it's the Guardian. And, you know, the Guardian is a very woke-dominated publication. But what is said here is true. And the point surely is whether it's true or not who said it. Accelerationists, the article says, argue, see if this makes any sense of the Trump regime since he came to power for the second time. Accelerationists argue that technology, particularly computer technology and capitalism, particularly the most aggressive global variety, should be massively sped up and intensified. Accelerationists favor automation. They favor the further merging of the digital and the human. And what I've been pointing out is, with all the smokescreens that are thrown at the MAGA to think they're winning, the real agenda going on behind that smokescreen is the control of society by AI and the fusion of humans and AI. So the article goes on. They often favor the deregulation of business. That's what people like Musk are doing, because you don't want regulation to mean that you have to conform to certain values. You want a free-for-all. So they often favor the deregulation of business and drastically scaled back government. They believe that people should stop deluding themselves that economic and technological progress can be controlled. They often believe that social and political upheaval has value in itself. And what is that value? It's dismantling the status quo so that you can replace it with another one, a more advanced form of control through AI. So when Musk took the stage with Trump and said he is not just MAGA, he is dark MAGA, had the dark baseball cap on, well, maybe he should have said, I'm dark enlightenment MAGA. And like I say, the executive orders that are firing out of the Oval Office are right in line with it. And then there's this, got an itch. Then there's this, Project 2025. Beyond my wildest dreams, the architect of Project 2025 is ready for his victory lap. Now, during the election campaign, news of this Project 2025, which is like a 900-page wish list of things the incoming, they hoped at that time, the incoming Trump administration would do, was issued by something called the Heritage Foundation. And the director of this Project 2025 was a guy called Paul Dans. Now, what happened is that because it wasn't good, what was in it, for the election prospects, shall we say, of Donald Trump, he denied knowing anything about it. He denied having ever seen it and then started talking about bits that were in it, which is kind of bizarre. He wouldn't be lying, though. Donald Trump doesn't lie. Not every frickin' minute, anyway. So this guy, Dans, was basically, shall we say, encouraged to fall on his sword and walk away to kind of help the fact that, or the perception of the fact that this Project 2025 nothing to do with Trump. Well, he's just done an interview and again, connects into what I've been saying so far. And he's saying that it's beyond his wildest dreams to see that since Trump came to office this time, the wish list of Project 2025 has been unfolding extremely quickly. So Dan's effectively confirmed, this article says, what Democrats were saying all along. Democrats can't talk. They're just another wing of the same one-party state. But Dan's effectively confirmed what Democrats were saying all along, and Trump himself denied. There really is almost no difference between Project 2025 and what Trump was planning all along and is now implementing. And if the White House were to call, he said he'd be glad to get back on the team. So this attack on the separation of powers, the checks and balances, that mean that the three areas of government, the executive, the president in this case, the courts, and Congress, the legislature, means that, or the idea is that one cannot completely operate as a tyranny because the other two are there to balance it. So if you want a tyranny, if you want a dark Enlightenment tyranny with a CEO, then what you have to do is stop any checks and balances on the power of the executive. And that's what's happening. We've had Capitol Hill neutered, and now we're having attacks on the courts to basically delete them from the game of checks and balances. And this is never more obvious than in these cases of migrants who are going through the process seeking asylum legally, who are being put on planes to this El Salvador prison, which is horrific. And even though the courts are saying, or some judges are saying, you can't do that, they're doing it anyway. What are you going to do about it? We own the military. How are you going to enforce what you're saying? This is where it's going. So what Trump has done is use something called the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 And it's a wartime authority that allows the president to detain or deport the natives and citizens of an enemy nation. So what is done is claim that the migrants are kind of an invasion or a form of war. So he can invoke this act. Now, this Alien Enemies Act has only been invoked 3 times before, and every time it was during a major conflict, the War of 1812, the World War I, and the World War II. So it means that you can do what you bloody like without due process and going through the courts. And this act is being used by the Trump regime to deport migrants who are going through the process as they should and sending them to this horror prison in El Salvador. And this is what awaits them.
It looks like a sea of skin and tattoos. These images released by El Salvador's government shows the transfer of about 2,000 inmates, stripped to their shorts and with their heads shaved, to what's been dubbed the country's new mega prison. It just opened. It's believed to be the largest prison in the Americas with a capacity for 40,000 people, and it's the latest step in a controversial crackdown on crime that's caused the country's prison population to soar. Human rights organizations have reported that innocent people have been caught up in the law enforcement campaign. That includes dozens, they say, who have died in police custody. Last year, the country's president asked Congress for emergency powers to temporarily suspend some constitutional rights after a massive spike in murders attributed to gang crime. It includes that arrests can be made without a warrant and detainees no longer have a right to a lawyer. Private communications of all citizens can also be accessed by the government. Since then, about 64,000 suspects have been arrested. The murder reports fell about 57% last year.
What has happened is that Trump has imposed quotas on the border police called ICE. Quotas of, according to this story, 1,800 arrests a day across the United States. I've seen 1,500 as well. And it says the Trump administration is demanding at least 1,800 arrests per day from Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, setting a quota of 75 busts minimum for each of the agency's 25 offices, according to multiple sources. ICE has made more than 4,500 arrests since Trump's return to office and has conducted raids in major sanctuaries, including New York, Denver, Chicago, Los Angeles, and Boston. But this was not enough for Trump. He wanted more. So he introduced this quota. And what this means is that you run out of violent criminals, which I'm all for getting them out of the country. But if you're going to meet the quotas, then you have to go into that area of migrants who are going through the process legally. In fact, you have to start targeting people like tourists and Europeans passing through the country. And Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, accompanied the feds in a raid, it says, in Chicago on Sunday. But he said that they are prioritizing the arrests of illegal migrants with criminal records who pose threats to the country. Okay, but they're not. I think the president's happy, but we're going to make him a lot happier, he said. We're not going to let up. We're going to put our foot on the gas and we're going to go. Now, first of all, just my view, but if you observe Tom Homan, he doesn't seem to be the sharpest pin in the box, to say the least. And he's got two colors, the only colors he can see, black and white. You're for us or you're against us. And he absolutely worships Trump. And he was asked here what he meant by saying that he didn't care what the court said.
So what do you mean when you say, I don't care what judges think?
No, I don't care what that judges think. As far as this case, we're going to continue to arrest public safety threats and national security threats. We're going to continue to deport them from the United States. I understand this case is in litigation through the Alien Enemies Act, and we'll abide by the court order as litigated. But my quote was, despite what he thinks, we're going to keep targeting the worst of the worst, which we've been doing since day one, and deporting from the United States through the various laws on the books. We're not making this up. The Alien Enemies Act was actually a federal law. It's a statute enacted by Congress and signed by a president. Now, that's under litigation. But put that aside, we still have Title VIII authority to remove illegal aliens from the United States, and we're going to continue to concentrate on those who are the biggest threat to our communities, the public safety threats.
But you're going to abide by court orders as long as, and go through your appeals process, but you are not going to defy those orders.
No.
Note the hesitation at the end there, because he is defying what the courts have said.
I don't even need to talk about Trump. He's been exposed over and over 2 times fold. This guy is he's so ridiculous. He's amazingly ridiculous and amazingly stupid. Using his words, he's amazingly stupid. Crazy of person, of a man person. I don't even know if this is a man or something. Crazy eyes. David says it's all people. I don't even have to touch on this guy. I don't even have to touch on this guy, people. It's so crazy. And you still have people defending. That's the cult. That's a cult for you. People will defend you to the end. No matter what you do. No matter how heinous it is, they will defend you. One global connection. One great cabal. Because this man is implicated in Epstein files. We all know that. He released the Ghislaine Maxwell. What? Audio recording. What? Trying to exonerate yourself? Because Ghislaine didn't mention your name. Maxwell. Daughter of a big CIA spy. Or Mossad spy. CIA, Mossad, double, triple agent. All the above. And somehow we are supposed to what? Think you wasn't mixed with Epstein, you're not a PDF file. Come on. You're much smarter than that. It's modern time, it's modern world. Get out of here with that stupid ass. Excuses, you MAGA supporters and you non-thinking humans. It's crazy, people, how this man is still the so-called president of the free world and still holds power over the world. Quote-unquote power over the world. It just show you who run this globe. We're all connected. PDF plus tax. It's nasty, it's disgusting. But this is the world. It's dark. As the video said, dark enlightenment. But this is just a dark truth. This is the dark truth, people. We know what these guys do when they get darks. We know what they does or do or whatsoever their English language suggests to speak. We know what they do when it's dark. We know what they do to the innocent. We know what they do to young ones. It's all been exposed. It's all been exposed, people. So We don't even need to talk about it too much because it's all in the open now. They're not hiding. They're that and they're proud of it. Disgusting so-called humans. I don't even know if these guys are humans, people. So David may be spot on with everything. Because we know this, the reptilian theory is the most controversial, polarizing, but given what we're seeing by these guys, these so-called humans, they don't seem humanic at all. They're not. They're evil. Evil to the core. Evil to the core, people. Terrorist crimes against humans. They have been implicated over and over again, and they continue to so-called rule over us people. So this is the dark reality. This is the dark enlightenment.